Hi, I am Antony Jeffries reporting on the history of the Crooked House, Himley, Dudley, West Midlands, UK. My first film, which was on Ian and Paul's page October 2024, had technical issues which I have corrected and uploaded again on YouTube. I have altered bits of my own script and added extra, but the Crooked House previous history I mentioned has not been altered and still the same and correct. I have always done cinematography and an historian of local history. I have filmed buildings like the Crooked House what have disappeared. I heard it on the Black Country radio what had happened, so when it was pulled down on the Monday, I decided to film what's left of the Crooked House. So the following day, on a Tuesday, then to hand my films over to Dudley Archives for future generations to watch with my other films I have made of the Crooked House and can be viewed on YouTube. I will give you the details at the end of this film. While filming over 3 days, I have met some wonderful people after setting up camp with them from day one to look after the remains of the Crooked House. The camp members, including myself, kept watch on the grounds in case anyone stole anything off the beloved pub. With what happened to the Crooked House changed my life. I have always been a shy person, but being involved with the Crooked House, I have met some wonderful people who I became friends with. I filmed and produced 8 films of the Crooked House, including the radio interview when I was invited to the Black Country radio studios to talk about the history of the Crooked House. I am just Joe Public, interested in historic buildings and their values. The Crooked House did not run smoothly, it had its ups and downs. I will tell you to the nearest accuracy of the Crooked House I have studied and scripted. There is a lot more technical issues to do with the water flow and levels to drive the mill wheel, but it would take too much time explaining to you about it, and I don't think that people want to know about that, only the ball rolling up the hill and the tilt of the Crooked House and some more of interest. Oak Farm, or as the Black Country know it, the Crooked House, was built in 1765. It began producing its own corn and was owned by Stephen Glynn of the Glynn family in 1779. He owned a lot of the estate, which was about 79 acres. Oak Farm was originally known as Siddon's House. In 1830, the farm was named the Glynn Arms because him owning the nearby land. Oak Farm had its own water wheel to produce the corn, but had its problems. There was not enough power to drive the wheel to grind the corn up. The nearby Himley Brook supplied water to Oak Farm, but did not produce enough power to turn the mill wheel fast enough for grinding up the corn. Water modifications was introduced with the changing of the gears and different wheels and a lot more of the technical sides to make the wheel go faster. New water courses were made but were swept away with heavy industry developing. In the mid-1800s, the Himley Brook, the Coppice, the Straits and a lot more pools. There was diversions of the water to make the wheel go faster, and this could also stop Oak Farm from flooding or surrounding area, which I don't know. But the pools mentioned did generate enough power for Oak Farm. It is mentioned that the wheel for the grinding of the corn was moved to a different part of the building. This is probably where the modifications came in to make the wheel go faster to produce more corn. As years went by, The farm had a few times run into financial difficulties. In 1835, Oak Farm was sold. It had a new name called Oak Farm Company. On conditions, new buildings were built, which were the gasworks, several mills, casting works, furnaces, a railway, coal mines, metalworks, pig iron works, pottery works, brick and clay works, a canal. It also had buildings for factory workers, I presume was for the people who worked for the gas. If there was problems, there would be workers in the sleeping quarters like the gasworks I filmed a documentary of in 1999. Arrangements were also made for coal mines to commence on the land in 1835. In those days, to support the mines from caving in, they used wooden posts for the roofing and sides of the pit. In 1847, there was a boiler explosion. No one knows where it came from. There was men and children hurt. Those days, not like today, they did use children of a certain age to help in factories and whatnot. The boiler worked machinery like the boiler on a steam train to drive the wheels. An engineer was found to be the culprit. The company had not paid him any wages, so he left a safety valve out the boiler, which caused the explosion. What happens when a boiler requires water? When it's hot, it produces steam. This then drives all sorts of machinery. A worker filled the boiler with cold water. The boiler was already hot, so the boiler would create a gas, and that's what caused the explosion. It's like you have a hot frying pan on the cooker. Someone washes their hands, splashes water in the pan. That causes a flame, especially if it goes on the lighted gas burners, to erupt and splash the fat or oil everywhere, which can create a fire in the property. So on inspection, the company knew that the engineer had left the valve out and at fault. Now forget about the science, let's get on with the crooked house. Some time afterwards, the engineer appeared in court, admitted the offence by leaving the safety valve out. He admitted the offence which caused the explosion to two machines which belonged to two companies and well known then and today in the Black Country, although the names have been altered. For damaging the company's machinery, he was fined 10 shillings or the prison sentence. The occupier of Oak Farm was a man called John Cartwright. He was the mill and beer man, so you could tell how long the Crooked House has been selling beer. In the 1800s, Oak Farm evolved into a public house with the ongoing industrialisation of the estate. In 1847, Oak Farm ran into financial difficulties quite a few times and filed for bankruptcy. Oak Farm, instead of closing down, it was bought by Stephen Glynn's brother-in-law, Prime Minister Gladstone. 17 years on, the farm ran into difficulties again, and parts of Oak Farm sold off. With the passing of Stephen Glynn in 1874, he was made a Sir, or whatever you want to call him, a Knight. The Oak Farm then closed and sold. Now the tilt of the Crooked House, what caused it? It is said that the Crooked House did not have any good ground to build on. It was built on soft ground with industry buildings on the estate evolving, the mills and coal mines hammering and whatnot to produce coal for the factories created problems in the surrounding area and did not help, as this what caused Oak Farm to subside, or as the Black Country called it, the Crooked House. The gable end is supported with brickwork. This makes the Crooked House safer. I could not find no records when this was done. By the looks of the bricks, I would say 1900, but I'm guessing. What do you think, the public? They said oak. People say there was a limestone quarry. If there was a limestone quarry, it's filled in, or do you say? If there was a quarry on Oak Farm, just for the records, you can use limestone for brickwork, paint, rockery and much more. They say it's used in toothpaste. I don't know about that with health and safety today. Rolling balls on the crooked house table has baffled people for years. It's very hard and technical to understand. It's to do with the vertical and horizontal axis. It confuses the mind. When you enter the crooked house and open one of the doors, gravity pulls you in. Open one of the other doors, it's different. When you enter the crooked house, it's hard to explain unless you are a scientist. It's I suppose like optical illusion and gravity. The doors and the windows are out of alignment. If you stood against any of the walls and leaned against it, then put your heel against the skirting board, there's no way you can stand in an upright position. It's the gable end of the building where the mind is unable to produce true horizontal and vertical axis. The ball is actually rolling downhill. I can just about father it out. If you understand that, you're better than me. That's the history of the crooked house to the best of my knowledge, what I've researched and studied. I did not know anything about the crooked house, and promptly yourselves as well. I've really delved into the crooked house. It's been of interest to you. I've done my job and enjoyed every minute. Writing notes and researching so I can tell the people of the Black Country and worldwide how interesting the crooked house is. The crooked house must be built on the same spot as it is now. We don't want it built anywhere else, no way. Where it is now, that's what the Black Country people want, and so do I. It holds a lot of memories for the past and present of the people. You can't replace memories with money. It's impossible. Am I right? That pub owes a lot of memories. That's why it's got to be built exactly the same spot where it is now for the people. I've worked very hard producing these films for the Black Country people, and here who no longer live in the UK. It's cost me and Joanne Adland 2.5 months hard work. I don't regret it, doing it. I would do it again, for the love of the pub and its people. I don't want any praise or money. I do it for memories which you can't replace and its people. I owe it to the crooked house. It's a shame what happened to the beloved pub. But that pub has stopped me being alone again. I owe it to this fella. Without him, I would still be in hiding. Me studying the history of this fella, I hope it has helped people out there who were watching this film solve the mysteries from years gone by. Again, I want to thank the CAP members being a friend to me. I can't thank them enough. I'm proud to be associated with the crooked house and its people and this fella who has altered my life. I would also like to thank Emma Gosnell, who has designed this t-shirt, and the hard work she has done for the people throughout this campaign for the crooked house. The information in this film is accurate. Thank you for listening to me talking about our beloved pub, the crooked house, and this fella who changed my life. Thank you everyone.